Angelina Jolie spent 3 decades living in two different worlds, one that the public saw and one that she knew nothing about. She appeared to be a strong movie actress, a mother of 6, and a well-known humanitarian. Beneath the limelight, however, was a different life filled with daring decisions, guarded secrets, and unspoken wounds. Additionally, I never remarked that I take too much for granted. This is it, and it will remain this way for the remainder of my life. It's like being on a movie and strolling around this amazing set and trailer. A portion of the truth was hidden by every accomplishment and appearance. That whole journey begins today. The tale of 30 years spent simultaneously in the public eye and in the background, when everyone believed they knew her but didn't. The weather isn't always on your side, but however, you overcome it. And here we are. Here we are. We call it, I suppose. After the year 2000, Angelina Jolie was the talk of Hollywood. She was praised by the media as a worldwide superstar, scored big roles in popular action films, and routinely topped the charts. Jolie's personal life started to come under investigation at the same time. Billy Bob Thornton and she had a brief and turbulent marriage, and came to a sudden end after just 3 years. The audience was astonished to see both of them wearing necklaces that contained each other's blood, and for many years later, this detail came to represent her rebellious persona. "I'm someone who always feels things intensely," Jolie once remarked. "I live as though nothing else exists when I'm in love. We will always be together." Thus, it was how we communicated with one another. We simply collaborated for ages. We are really in love. Closest companions. 2002 was a watershed year. Jolie took in Maddox, an orphan, while filming in Cambodia. Everything changed as she summoned a light. She also took part in international humanitarian initiatives and started a forest conservation fund in the nation. With Maddox's arrival, Jolie's rebellious persona was replaced by that of a loving mother and a new Hollywood star with a mission. Jolie started making more appearances as a humanitarian ambassador after that. She contributed millions of dollars to foreign organizations, traveled to refugee camps, and authored books about her experiences. She was acknowledged by the media as a celebrity whose impact went beyond the realm of film. However, Jolie had a rigorous job schedule in addition to her humanitarian activism. A string of successful cinema roles, including Wanted, Mr. and Mrs. Smith Changeling, and Lara Croft Tomb Raider, cemented her status as one of the world's most influential actresses. Her private life took a more complicated path, even though the world saw her as a strong and content lady. One of Hollywood's most talked about relationships began when Jolie and Brad Pitt's romance bloomed during the Mr. and Mrs. Smith filming. Maddox, Sahara Pax, and their 3 biological children are part of the family they eventually established together. "Family is the only aspect of me that genuinely makes me feel alive," according to Jolie. This assertion served as the foundation for all of her other choices. She continued to project the image of a world activist and a mother of 6 in the years that followed. Jolie and Brad Pitt, the most powerful couple in Hollywood at the time, formed the famous Brangelina by appearing together on the red carpet in serene surroundings with their kids. However, behind the scenes, their disparate viewpoints, heavy workloads, and media pressure progressively caused them to drift apart. Jolie made numerous journeys to the Middle East, Africa, and Asia as part of her ongoing, vigorous humanitarian efforts. She joined the UN High Commissioner for Refugees as a special envoy. Jolie nearly avoided talking about herself, even though every trip generated attention. In an interview, she once said, "I've never seen myself as a celebrity. All I'm trying to do is something worthwhile." Jolie had a big family, celebrity, and wealth by the end of 2010. That picture appeared to be incredibly flawless. But shortly after, a new set of circumstances started to drastically alter the course of her life, and she had to make important choices regarding her future and health, ushering in a whole new era in Angelina Jolie's life. The turn inside. After her stardom peaked, Angelina Jolie started a new chapter in her life. For a while, she avoided the limelight and concentrated on deeper endeavors. Jolie said, "I want to create something that belongs to me, not just a role that someone else wrote," in response to a question concerning the alteration. She then turned her attention to filmmaking, beginning with the Bosnian war set movie In the Land of Blood and Honey. Her demand for creative control was validated by the movie, which also gave her career a new path. Shortly after receiving devastating medical news, Jolie's test results showed that she had the BRCA1 gene, which raises the risk of ovarian and breast cancer. To avoid the illness, she had a mastectomy in 2013. Since Jolie was among the first celebrities to publicly disclose information about her surgery, this public statement created a stir around the world. She wrote a press article saying, "I don't feel less like a woman. I feel more resilient. Because I made the decision to keep my life." That decision was not just a medical act, but also a spiritual turning point. Jolie reduced her workload, dedicating more time to her children and directing projects. She began choosing stories that reflected human experiences in war trauma and resilience. Unbroken, released in 2014, clearly demonstrates this choice, focusing on themes of survival and willpower. The film garnered significant attention and helped Jolie solidify her position behind the camera, rather than just in front of it. Directing gave Jolie a completely different space compared to commercial films. She executive produced, wrote the script, and was involved in every aspect. In an interview, Jolie said, "Used to spend too much time embodying the character. Now I want to tell the story from my own perspective." This statement clearly reflects her inner shift from actress to a fully fledged creator. In 2015, Jolie made another important medical decision. After tests showed a high risk of ovarian cancer, she underwent surgery to remove her reproductive organs. This was the second time she faced a choice between health and personal feelings. In a brief interview with a medical magazine, Jolie shared, "I knew I would go through menopause early. But I wasn't scared. I just felt relieved knowing that I could be with my children longer." During this period, Jolie and Brad Pitt worked together on the project By the Sea, a film she wrote and directed. The film revolved around a crumbling marriage and was seen as reflecting the spirit of its creator. Although the film didn't achieve high box office success, it showed Jolie using cinema as a tool to express her thoughts. After the film, she appeared less frequently at events, choosing a quiet life with her family. Alongside her film career, Jolie continued her humanitarian work. She participated in programs supporting women who had experienced violence in conflict and promoted her role as a UN Special Envoy. On each trip, she appeared as a representative, not a celebrity. International organizations highly appreciated her efforts in bringing humanitarian issues to global media attention. Her health gradually stabilized and her projects were completed. But behind closed doors, simmering conflicts were about to erupt. Everything that seemed balanced began to shift. After a period of silence, a new series of events emerged, soon placing Jolie at the center of the biggest crisis of her life: the collapse and rebuilding years. In 2016, Angelina Jolie's life changed completely. She filed for divorce from Brad Pitt, ending a relationship that lasted more than 10 years. The events began after a private flight from France to Los Angeles, where a serious conflict arose between the two. The incident quickly led to investigations and opened a series of lawsuits that lasted for many years. The two officially separated, with Jolie taking responsibility for the care of their 6 children. The press quoted her at the time as saying, "I had to do what was necessary to keep my children safe." The divorce became one of the most watched events in Hollywood. Jolie remained silent for much of the time, rarely appearing only when required by law or at film events. Her children also gradually became known to the public as independent individuals. Maddox was in college, Zahara was involved in social activism, and Shiloh was frequently noticed for her unique style. Jolie spent most of her time caring for them, limiting her involvement in major projects. In 2017, she made a media comeback promoting the film, First They Killed My Father. She appeared with her children for the first time after months of silence. At the press conference, Jolie shared, "I've been through a very difficult time, but my family is here and that's what matters most." This widely circulated statement clearly reflected her state of mind at the time: relaxed, worn out. Jolie was mostly absent from her well-known action roles during this time. She made fewer choices and only starred in films with a humanitarian or personal theme. She merely responded, "I needed time for things to get back on track," when asked why she was limiting her workload. Maleficent Mistress of Evil marked Jolie's comeback to the big screen in 2019. After her divorce, this was her first significant commercial release. Despite a protracted absence, her return demonstrated that she was still in the film industry. Jolie was questioned about her dual roles as a powerful and vulnerable woman in a promotional interview. She replied, "I understand that feeling very well." The answer was concise, but noteworthy, as it perfectly matched her real-life persona. After Maleficent, Jolie continued with a role in Those Who Wish Me Dead, released in 2020. The film marked her return to the survival action genre in many years. The media noted this as an effort to reassert herself after the ordeal. Although the film received mixed reviews, Jolie demonstrated her steadfastness in maintaining her professional performance. During this time, Jolie began to readjust her life. She continued her charitable activities, participating in international conferences on women's rights and child protection in war zones. Her travels have become more discreet and less publicized, still effective. Personally, Jolie dedicates more time to her family. Images of her and her children attending events or going to school attract media attention, but she rarely speaks out. In a short interview, she simply said, "I'm doing what any mother would do, protecting my children and rebuilding my life." After 2020, the major upheavals gradually subsided. Jolie began planning personal projects, reviving unfinished ideas and preparing to enter a new cycle. The upcoming period will see her redefining herself, no longer associated with the image of someone in crisis, but rather someone actively rewriting her own life. Reinvention. From 2021, Angelina Jolie entered a phase of completely rebuilding her life. After years of disputes, the court granted her primary custody of her children. This allowed Jolie to be more proactive in managing her family life and work. New images show her focusing on creative, artistic, and social activities. Jolie began redefining her role, no longer solely as an actress, but as someone running many independent projects. Also that year, Jolie appeared at many international events, meeting with leaders, and participating in programs protecting children's rights. She was invited to speak at numerous human rights forums, maintaining her characteristic composure. In an interview, she said, "I don't see everything that happened as a loss. I see them as opportunities to rebuild." In 2022, Jolie made what is considered a major turning point in her humanitarian career, leaving the United Nations after more than 2 decades of collaboration. In an official statement, she explained her reason, wanting a more flexible scope to directly help communities affected by war and natural disasters. This decision received significant attention as Jolie was one of the organization's longest-serving figures. Leaving her role as special envoy did not diminish her activities. Instead, Jolie transitioned to working independently, self-funding, and organizing her own campaigns. At that time, Jolie also began launching new creative projects. Her fashion brand, Atelier Jolie, was established with the goal of creating job opportunities for refugee artisans and craftspeople from various countries. The brand was recognized in the fashion world for its sustainable approach and strong personal touch. Jolie said, "I want this place to be a space for people to express themselves, not just for producing clothes." In the arts, Jolie expanded her roles as a producer and director. She participated in major projects such as Maria, about the life of the legendary singer Maria Callas, Couture, a film about women in the fashion world, and the Anxious People series in collaboration with Netflix. Additionally, Jolie also took on the role of stage producer for the Broadway musical The Outsiders, where her daughter Vivian worked alongside her as an assistant. The mother-daughter partnership on the production team is seen as a clear sign of a generational shift within the family. Also in Two Heights 24, another event attracted media attention. Shiloh Jolie and Pitt's biological daughter officially filed to drop the Pitt surname. This action was seen as a milestone in ending the legal relationship between the children and their father. Alongside developing her personal projects, Jolie remains embroiled in the Mirabelle estate lawsuit against Brad Pitt. The case, which extended into 2025, revolves around ownership and past agreements. New documents show Jolie sold shares to another company, while Pitt requested the court to review the transaction. Although the lawsuit has not reached a final verdict, Jolie maintains a consistent stance. She once wrote in a court filing, "chose to remain silent for many years. But that doesn't mean I'm giving up my right to defend myself. 2025 also marked a time when Jolie appeared more frequently in public. She attended international film festivals as both a director and actress. Her new works, such as Couture and Sunny, garnered attention for their themes related to women, family, and mental strength. In conversations, Jolie expressed optimism, believing she had found balance. "I'm happy to be able to raise my children and still maintain the necessary peace." After achieving the desired balance, Jolie began to look back on her early years, the origin of everything where the two opposing sides of her personality were formed. The origins of two lives. Angelina Jolie was born into an artistic family. Her father was actor Jon Voight, and her mother was Marceline Bertrand. From a very young age, she was familiar with the world of cinema, but soon realized her family was unhappy. Her parents separated and her mother took her and her brother away from Los Angeles. Jolie once said, "I understood what it felt like to be left behind from a young age." That breakdown became the first turning point that influenced how she viewed love, trust, and responsibility. During her teenage years, Jolie lived in isolation. Her mother worked constantly to support her children, and Jolie rarely went out. At school, she didn't fit in and was teased by her peers because of her different appearance. At just 14, she moved out with her boyfriend. This early freedom led Jolie to face many changes without adult guidance. She once shared that at that time, she didn't think about the future. She just wanted to feel alive. During her time at the Lee Strasberg Theatre Institute, Jolie began to gain attention. She participated in small auditions and also accepted modeling jobs. Nonetheless, the entertainment industry only added to her exhaustion. Jolie began using drugs, believing it was the only way to forget the pressure. Years later, she said, "I hurt myself in many different ways. I wanted to know how much more I could take." Jolie's private life at that time was full of contradictions. James Haven, her brother, was close to her and supported her through all of her highs and lows. Years later, when the two attended the 2000 Academy Awards together, their close sibling relationship gained attention. For Jolie, it was just a way of saying thank you to the only family member she could rely on. Jolie started making more movie appearances in the late 1990s. Gia provided her a breakthrough, while Hackers gave her her first well-known part. She presented a multifaceted character in Gia who was impacted by loneliness and addiction. Since this part was so similar to her own circumstances at the time, many people were able to appreciate her extraordinary acting skills. Gia Jolie was selected for Girl Interrupted after her achievement. She won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for the movie. She rose to popularity in Hollywood thanks to her portrayal of Lisa, a psychiatric patient. Although Jolie gained notoriety, her personal issues remained unresolved. Her life was still in disarray at the time. Jolie previously admitted that she had considered dying more than once and had even planned it. She recounted, "Once hired someone to do it for me. Just because I didn't want my mother to see." This statement was repeated in many subsequent interviews reflecting the dark period she went through. The relationship between Jolie and her father continued to be a point of tension. Jon Voight publicly commented that his daughter had mental health issues and Jolie reacted by cutting off contact for many years. She only agreed to reconcile after her mother's death in 2007. Nonetheless, the conflict between them was never completely resolved. In the late 1990s, Jolie was known for her unconventional style. She wore black, had extensive tattoos, and openly declared her same-sex relationship with model Jenny Shimizu. In a rare interview, she candidly stated, "I love people, not genders." This perspective made her one of the first stars to openly embrace non-traditional sexual orientation in Hollywood. If you find this journey thought-provoking, please like and share so more people can learn about the story behind this icon. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to see more videos about people who have lived more than one life. And leave a comment. What do you think makes Angelina Jolie still so captivating after everything she's been through?